Hey y'all, what's up? It's Paige. I'm back with another reaction video. Today we're gonna watch top 10 scary teen convicts and what they look like today. Alright, let's do it.
Everyone, what is happening? I'm your host Eamon Hassan and welcome back to another video here at Most Amazing Top 10. Now, going to jail is something all of us hope we never have to do no matter how old we are, although I'm not sure a 6-year-old would even know what going to jail means, but just go with it. Going to jail is bad enough, but imagine you had to grow up in jail. Imagine you were 14 and you were put behind bars for the rest of your life. That's just ending your life before it even starts right there, but that's the case with a lot of people on this list today. As always guys, remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and while you're at it you may as well subscribe to top 10 Hindi videos as well for double the dose of top 10. But without further ado, this is the top 10 scary teen convicts and what they look like today. Starting us off with number 10 are Katherine and Curtis.
Oh, I forgot to say shout out to, what channel is this? Most Amazing 10. Shout out to you guys.
Child Jones. In Melbourne, 1999, at 13 and 12 years old, Katherine and Curtis.
Pause again, sorry. Link will be in the description box below. And also guys, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Help a sister out.
Became the youngest people ever charged as adults for first-degree murder. The two shot their father's girlfriend Sonia and had plans to murder their father as well and another male relative for sexually molesting them. As soon as they had shot her, they realized what a huge mistake they'd made and they ran to their neighbor's house and said it was an accident. Even after evidence of abuse was found, no one did anything. No one believed the two were being abused and they were sent to jail. During their trial, they never brought up the abuse, nothing about what they had endured was even mentioned. I mean, the man who was abusing them was convicted of sexually assaulting his girlfriend's daughter years prior. Why was this not brought up by their defense during their trial? I have no idea. Then the justice system failed.
They had a shitty ass lawyer. And lie detector tests, they don't hold up in court, do they? I was about to say, why didn't they just give them a lie detector test to see if they were
failed them, and they pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and were sentenced to 18 years and probation for life. They were both released in 2015 at 29 and 30 years old. That's basically your whole prime part of life all spent in jail. Coming in at number 9 is Ortiz, Rafe and Sebastian Burns. Funnily enough, I knew about this case beforehand because it's a very good Netflix docu-series about different crimes and it's called The Confession Tapes, and this was that first case it actually explored. Highly recommend. But anyway, in Bellevue back in 1994, Ortiz and his best friend Sebastian came back to Ortiz's family's house for the holidays. All was well until the boys came back from a long night out to discover Ortiz's parents and sister brutally murdered and his house a complete mess. After their murder, Ortiz inherited basically everything his parents.
Should I leave these captions on? Or should I turn them off? Because I know you guys can turn your captions on and off. Let me turn them off. I don't know, it might bother some people. Sorry.
Had, buying a new car, living a new lifestyle, and seemingly not mourning the loss of his family at all. Police in both the US and Canada suspected the two boys of killing his family in order to get their money. They slandered them in the news like there was no tomorrow, branded them as murderers, and then using the Mr. Big technique to extract a confession from them. This technique is actually illegal in the US, but legal in Canada where it was done. It involves undercover cops gaining the suspect's trust by involving them in illegal activities and then getting them to confess. Even with multiple alibis and no physical evidence, the undercover cop kept probing Burns to confess and he would make it all go away. I'm assuming in the hopes of making his life go back to normal, Burns did confess, and later on so did Ortiz, even though their stories were completely different. Both were found guilty in 2004 of a triple murder and were both sentenced to 3 life sentences each, even though they've been in prison for the past 20 years. At first I thought, how could anyone murder their parents? But after doing this video and seeing how many people actually did, I was like, wow, this is a thing. This actually.
I know, I always thought that too. Like, how could you murder your parents? Like, they gave you life. Now, I can see if they were like, you know, SA and you or something like that, or, you know, like a legit excuse. But other than that, like, just because they tell you no of a toy or tell you not to do something, like, come on. That's... I could go on and on, but let's get on the video.
Actually happens. At number 8 is Joshua Smith. Now in February of 2012, 14-year-old Joshua broke into his stepfather Chico's room and stole his shotgun. Right after that, he started shooting things around the house, and Chico and his daughter were able to escape his rampage by breaking a window and climbing through. Joshua's mother, Tamiko Robinson, was sleeping on the sofa when he shot her around 12 to 14 times at close range. And why did he do this, you may be wondering? Because his mother was being a mother. That's right, Joshua started hanging out with the wrong crowd and wanted to join a gang, do drugs, pop pills. He started coming home at ridiculous hours, so Tamiko gave him a curfew and told him to stop hanging out with these people, and that's what triggered him.
Oh my god. Kids, if any kids are watching this, kids telling you to do stuff like this, to be cool in a gang, and you know, you're gonna fit in, you know, do not listen to them. I promise you, they're setting you up for failure. They don't want to see you win. They want you down on their level.
He pled guilty to second-degree murder and will be in jail for anywhere from 30 to 50 years.
And I bet you that boy regrets every decision he made doing that. Once he realized where he was, once he was behind bars, his mom's gone. Oh my god, I couldn't imagine. And you can't get her back. After something, you can't get them back. The youth, please, God. I'm saying a prayer for our youth today because it ain't looking good.
On number 7 slot now is Evan Miller. Now Evan's life was hard enough. By the time he turned 14 in 2003, he'd been in and out of foster care due to his stepfather continuously beating him and his mother abusing drugs and alcohol. One day he was hanging out with his friends and his neighbor Cannon, who also happened to be one of his mum's drug dealers. After spending most of the night drinking and smoking weed, Evan and his friends attempted to rob Cannon after beating him. Evan beat him with a baseball bat and then set his trailer on fire, and he later died from his injuries and smoke inhalation. When brought to trial, his friend was offered life with a chance of parole if he testified against Evan, which obviously he did. In 2006, Evan was sentenced to life without parole, and now at 28 years old, he may have a chance at a retrial, but for now he's still very much in prison. Now at number 6 is Jacob P. Ind. Back in 1992, when Jacob was 15 years old, he killed his mum and his stepdad. After enduring years of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse, Jacob hired another older teen to help him murder his parents. Then, in the morning of December 17th, they went to their bedroom where they were fast asleep and attacked them for 5 whole minutes using various gruesome methods, stabbing them, spraying their faces with bear mace, and shooting them as well. He never testified during his first trial since his defense told him he would pack up and leave if he tried, so he was sentenced to life without parole. After spending 20
Wait. Spraying their faces with what?
5 whole minutes using various gruesome methods, stabbing them, spraying their faces with bear mace, and shooting them as well. He never testified during his first trial since his defense told him he would pack up and leave if he tried, so he was sentenced to life without parole. After spending 25 years in prison, he was finally granted a retrial and the right to testify back in August of 2018. And his retrial hasn't happened yet, so we don't know the conviction as of yet. Coming in at number 5 is Diana Ortiz. Diana was 18 years old when she moved to New York in 1983 to flee an abusive relationship, and that's where she eventually met her new boyfriend who was double her age. The man introduced her to drugs like heroin, LSD, and cocaine and convinced that the only way to sustain both their habits was to stage a robbery. Note, not a murder, just a robbery. The plan was sorted. She would pose as a prostitute in a parking lot, wait for someone to approach her, and then her boyfriend and some friends would rob him. However, on the actual day, the victim that pulled up to her started fighting with the men, and a brawl ensued and he was eventually shot. While they all ran off in separate directions, what they had no clue about was that the customer was actually an off-duty police officer, and he actually died a few days later. Diana turned herself in and was convicted of felony murder and was sentenced to 17 years to life. And after 22.5 years in prison, she finally went on parole. Imagine 22.5 years in prison. I'm only 21 right now, and I feel like I lived a long life. That's my life and then some, all in prison. I can't even imagine that. At number 4 is Quantelle Lots. Now Lots, like a lot of other kids on this list, had a troubled upbringing. His dad, mum, stepmom, uncles, aunts, basically everyone around him was addicted to cocaine, even getting high on it while he was still in the room at a very young age. He'd seen his uncle get shot multiple times because of drugs, and he himself was beaten on a regular basis. By 14, he used to have bouts of getting very angry, then crying uncontrollably, and then amnesia about what happened. In 1999, he was play fighting with his stepbrother Michael. It started off innocently, as it always does. Michael sent a blow dart his way, Lots fired back with a toy bow and arrow, but then it turned very ugly and escalated into a proper fight. It ended with Lots stabbing Michael a few times and then ultimately killing him. He literally doesn't remember the incident whatsoever. He just remembers being told the next day that his brother was dead and he was the reason. He was tried as an adult, not a juvenile, and was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Even though at 14 the state of Missouri thinks you're too young to legally get married, leave school, donate blood, get a tattoo without parental approval, yet you're old enough to be tried as an adult and then put away in jail forever. Filling in on number 3 slot is John Kasich. Back in 2009, John was 16 at the time when he put up an ad on Craigslist offering sexual services in exchange for money, and the very popular ABC reporter George Weber replied to his ad. When they finally met up for this kinky hookup, if we can call it that, John claimed that George pulled a knife on him, and as self-defense he stabbed George 50 times. Mind you, George was bound and being choked when this happens, so I don't know how he could have even pulled a knife out to begin with. And if it was really self-defense, why 50 times? Surely someone's dead after maybe a few, or at least injured enough for you to escape the situation. During his hearings and his confession tapes, you can see him literally wink and smile throughout. At 18 years old, John was found guilty and was sentenced to 25 years to life, and at 28 years old, he's still in prison today. Now at number 2 is Ashley Jones. Ashley was a problem child raised by problematic parents. Her stepdad used to sexually molest her, and her mum was a drug addict, so it appeared to be a blessing when her grandparents agreed to take in her and her sister. I don't know if they agreed to take her in or her parents kicked her out, since she stabbed both her dad and her pregnant mum a year beforehand. Luckily neither died. A year later, at 14 years old, she was disobeying her grandparents more and more, and she was dating a boy they didn't approve of. The couple hatched a plan, and she helped her boyfriend commit a series of murders. First, they killed her granddad, shooting him twice in the face and then stabbing him to death. Then her aunt, who they shot in her sleep, and then set them both on fire. They also attacked her grandmom, who also got burned on the face, stabbed in the chest and jaw, and shot in the shoulder. Luckily, she survived, and she also tried to kill her own 10-year-old sister by stabbing her 14 times, but she also survived, thank God. Now at 24 years old, she's still in prison serving out her life sentence. And finally, at number 1 is Erin Caffey. Way back in March of 2008, Erin started dating a boy called Charlie Wilkinson. Story seems pretty kosher so far. After meeting Charlie, her parents felt like there was something off about him but didn't worry too much, but then Erin started to change. Her interests changed, her demeanor changed, and her parents thought Charlie was a bad influence and wanted them to break up. So what do any desperate teenagers do in that situation? Hatch a plan. Charlie and his friend Wade went into Erin's house while she waited in the car with Wade's girlfriend and shot Erin's mother Penny, whilst also nearly decapitating her with a katana. They then shot her youngest brother Matthew in the head, while James James and his friend both took turns stabbing her other brother Tyler. As if that wasn't bad enough, they then set the house on fire and it was completely ruined. Erin's father was also really badly injured. They shot him nearly 11 times whilst they killed Penny, but luckily he survived and was able to escape the house before it completely went up in flames. I mean, I don't know how lucky that is considering he survived his wife and kids and his remaining child is in jail, but it's still a good sign. Initially, no one suspected Erin, but during Charlie and Wade's questionings, they both said that the murders were Erin's idea. At 17 years old, Erin pleaded guilty to murder, as did Charlie, and they were both given 2 consecutive life sentences plus 25 years. And that's it for today's video, guys. After reading about all these cases, it made me realize how unforgiving the justice.
Oh my god, that was crazy. Wow. Alright, you guys, thanks for sticking around with me and watching the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Peace.